This is trophy. Oh, hold on. I'm going to stop this. Sorry. Sorry about that. This is Trophy Gold, A Tower Darkly, Part 1. I want to begin by having us introduce ourselves. So when I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for us to know about you. I will start. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the publisher, one of the publishers of Trophy Gold, and I also co-host a podcast about OSR modules called Fear of a Black Dragon. This module that we're running for this series is to support that podcast. And so that's me. Let's go to Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben. I use he and him pronouns. I make character keepers for RPGs and also really enjoy playing a lot of Trophy Gold lately, so I'm happy for even more.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I use they and she pronouns. Both are equally acceptable. I design games. That's what I do. Lately, it's been a lot of Brindlewood Bay and Brindlewood Bay adjacent stuff. And this is my first time playing Trophy Gold, so I'm excited.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Daniel.
My name is Daniel. I use he, him pronouns, and I play a lot of different tabletop RPGs, and I just moved into a new house, so I have boxes everywhere.
Thank you so much. And finally, Judd.
Hey, I'm Judd. He, him pronouns, and we say a little something about ourselves. Is that what we do? I blog a bit and podcast a bit. I have a blog called Get Yankee Diaspora. It's probably the easiest way to track me down.
Judd is being very modest. Is one of the absolute best fantasy blogs for fantasy gaming, so go check it out.
Thank you.
Let's go to Cats. So Cats is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. This is a thing I like to do just to establish some basic expectations for what we're going to be doing over the next 2 weeks. And so let's start with concept. Trophy Gold, the game, is a game about desperate treasure hunters going into the lost and forgotten places of the world in order to get their hands on relics and money and anything else they can sell. They are trying to raise money to meet a personal drive that they have that is very expensive. The tone of we'll get to tone in a minute, but the flavor of the game is very much like about these people are in poverty and they are doing whatever they can to get by in the world, and in particular to collect money to achieve this drive that they have. Unlike its sister game Trophy Dark, which is very play to lose in flavor, Trophy Gold is both play to win and play to lose. You should try to keep the characters alive, but at some point you just might not be able to, in which case you should lean into the play to lose aspect and let them go in a glorious downfall. A Tower Darkly is the module that we're going to be running. It is by John Davis. I'm not going to say too much about it, except that it is a kind of a brief pamphlet module. Because it's fairly brief, I am fleshing out quite a bit of it with stuff from Trophy Loom. If you're watching this video, both Trophy Gold and Trophy Loom are still available to pre-order, though not for much longer. So we'll have a link in the notes. The aim of these characters, as I've mentioned, is to stay alive and find treasure. The aim of us as players is to tell a good story. The aim of the session today is to make characters and then learn how to play the game. At the end of the session, we will have a little debrief. Tone. This is dark. I mean, it's called A Tower Darkly, and it is. Trophy Gold is pretty dark anyway, and this module is just right in the pocket in terms of darkness. Okay, it is a dingy, gritty, nasty little village crawl, basically, right? It's one of those kinds of things. And so just know that. In terms of subject matter, I do want to highlight 3 things that are kind of unavoidably subject matter in this. We can discuss it once we've paused the recording in terms of like lines and veils and things. But first thing, harm to children is a thing that's happening in this module. Second thing, women being hung as witches is a thing that's happening in this module. Third thing, it's just extremely disgusting in places in terms of gore. Okay, so those are sort of things that are a part of this. However, we have safety tools, and we don't have to be like slavish to the nature of the module, right? We can line and veil and do things as we need. We'll be using the open door policy, which means that you can leave for any reason. We'll be using the X card, which means if something happens in the game that you just does not conform to your idea of fun, you can say X card or type it in the chat and we'll stop and we'll change whatever it is. I might ask what is being X carded, but I won't ask why. And we'll have lines and veils, which we'll note on the character keeper. I will ask that the 3 things I've highlighted, we'll just do our best to veil those things if that's a problem for you. So make sure you let me know that if that's a thing. And I'll just explain, lines are things that are absolutely not going to be in the game, and veils are things that we're just not going to role play. I'll say my lines and veils just as an example, and then you all can mark your lines and veils in the character keeper when we're making characters. My line is going to be sexual violence. I don't like to have that in my games, and so we're not going to do it. My veil is going to be torture. I'm okay with torture being a thing that happens in the story. I just prefer not to role play that scene. And so if there are no questions about that, we shall switch right over to character creation. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, we're all set. So let's introduce these characters. I'm going to go in the order of the sheet from left to right. You could just tell us the basics, occupation, background, drive, anything else you might know about them at this point is also fine, but don't sweat it too much. We'll learn about them as we play. So Judd, tell us the basics of Wodoom, please.
Wodoom is an orphaned mannequin who was like a dummy in a fencing school. So the old wood is kind of marked up and chipped away, and his drive is to bring freedom to Tyrolis, which Wode believes is a mannequin-run city that's under siege. And I think I've played this character before in a game I was in with Jason, and we haven't finished that game. So I just imagine that this is like a Conan short story that no one can agree where it is in the timeline. Is it before? Is it after? It doesn't matter. I think Wode, because I think Wode, the idea that Wode has memory problems works for me, and I'll just kind of play as if it's just unclear, and or maybe even play to find out, and that's Wode.
I love it. Thank you. Just so everyone knows that in Trophy, one of the folk, as they're called, or one of the peoples of Trophy, are the mannequins. They are just basically any construct that's been made sentient, essentially via magic. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Let's go over to Alicia and Kiva.
Yes, all right. So Kiva is a leech, because I thought that sounded fun, and was previously an emboldened rat catcher, because why not? Love me some rats. And her thing is trying to finance an expedition into the Blossoming Sea. And I know nothing else about her, so let's see what happens while we play.
I'm excited. I mean, being a bloodletter and a rat catcher, she sounds disgusting, but but maybe she's not. Who knows? Maybe she's very genteel. We'll find out. Thank you so much. And Daniel, tell us about Macero, please.
Macero is a reformed thug who who's also now, he still maintains some of his skills in that he's a lockpick and he likes hard candies.
Thank you so much. And let's go to, what's your drive, Macero?
Oh, to retire to the Rose District of Amberay, I believe.
Very good. Amberet, yes.
Amberay.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I used to say Amberay all the time. It's Amberet, apparently. Let's go to Ben and Parda.
Parda. Parda is a ranger who is also a cured beast bitten, and he seeks to free the serfs of Bandung Prefecture with using his crossbow and hatchet when he needs to.
Fabulous, thank you. We will learn more about these characters as we play, of course, but for now, let me just go over a couple of little rules things, and then we'll take a short break. So, some stuff about the rules that are worth knowing. I have a module, and I have some notes that I've made from Trophy Loom. The module and the notes are just a very simple, almost a skeleton of what we're going to be doing. They are not the whole of the story. Much of the story is going to take place via collaborative play. And the way that happens in Trophy Gold, the principal way that happens is through the risk roll. And even more specifically, it's the devil's bargain part of the risk roll. And what that means is when your character is doing something risky, in order to get more dice, myself and another player can make offers to you that are called devil's bargains, which are things that will happen in the fiction, whether you succeed or fail. And these devil's bargains can be, in fact, they usually are, things that I, as the GM, did not see coming and I had not planned for. They can be things that take the story in totally wild and different directions, and that's good. That is a good thing. So the way it kind of works is, let's say, for example, that Kiva is jumping across a ravine, and that's a risky action because Kiva might fall down into the ravine. If this truck to pass. And devil's bargains are happening, and someone offers to Alicia, because it's always an out of character offer. My devil's bargain is no matter what, Kiva's weapon falls down into the ravine. And so that could be because if Kiva's successful, when she makes the jump, her weapon just comes loose and falls down the ravine. If Kiva fails the roll, it's because Kiva is also going down into the ravine, right? So that's sort of that. And now that's a pretty simple devil's bargain. And that's okay sometimes. A perhaps more interesting devil's bargain might be, no matter what, Kiva, there is a trade representative who frequently travels to the Blossoming Sea on the other side of the ravine, right? Now that's a really good, juicy devil's bargain because it takes into account Kiva's drive, right? And Kiva's story. And so that's the kind of stuff we can be aiming for. You don't always have to do that. Sometimes the simple answer is the better answer. But if you need some ideas, if you're looking for ways to play with the story and to get invested in the other characters, checking out their drive is a great way of doing it, and thinking about these devil's bargains and how they can take the story in interesting directions is also very good. Another rules thing is just the general way that this game kind of works in terms of information gathering is really important. So you're going to be moving through sets, and sets have set goals. Set goals are usually out of character things, but they're things that the characters need to be doing, right? And so, or might want to do. Sometimes the characters know the goal as well, but frequently it's just the players that know. As your characters are searching the environment and talking to people and doing the things that adventurers do, you'll be making the hunt roll. And as you make the hunt roll, you'll be collecting hunt roll tokens. These tokens can be used on a one-for-one basis to get treasure, the treasure that you need to meet your burdens so that your character survives the adventure or the incursion. Alternatively, you can pool your hunt roll tokens together and spend 3 to automatically achieve the set goal. Now, the set goal can be achieved that way, or it can just be achieved naturally through play in the story. But you might sometimes want to go ahead and just spend the tokens because maybe your characters are really injured and they need to progress faster. Maybe you just think this would be the right moment to do it in the story, in which case you can do it. So the set goals and the spending of tokens to accomplish the set goal is sort of how Trophy Gold short circuits the OSR a little bit. You know, the OSR is very like puzzling out the environment, and you can still do that. But this using spending tokens to do it is sort of is almost like a strategic way of accomplishing goals, because you might need those tokens for something else later, right? So those are just a couple of rules things. We'll learn everything as we play. You all will need to be in the trophy Discord, in particular in the channel at the bottom called Dice, where we'll be rolling dice today. So if you'll just go check that out. Also, if you'll be sure to mark your lines and veils when we go on break, that would be great. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll just take 5 and we'll come back and start playing. The village of Rasten isn't much. A few dozen buildings, mostly carpenters, woodworkers, a toy maker, a beer hall. Rasten makes its money mostly through the cutting of wood. And indeed, as you came to the village of Rasten, you would have noticed that great big swathes of the land around the village have been clear cut, leaving just stumps behind. You all are responding to a request for help because Rasten, over the last few weeks, has had all of its children go missing. And they've asked for a group of hardy folk to come help them with this problem. And they are paying good money for them to either get the children back or figure out what's going on. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But as you arrive in Rasten, this little village of woodcutters and carpenters, as a paint the scene question, everyone, please tell me, what do you see, or what do you feel, or how do you otherwise experience that the village has no kids? There are no children, apart from just the fact you can't see them. Whoever wants to think on it for a moment, whoever wants to answer, please do. Whoever wants to answer first.
There's a small schoolhouse that has been converted into makeshift stables and storage.
Interesting. Interesting.
Is there an idea or how long the kids have been missing? Just so we can.
I said a few weeks, but it can be
A few weeks.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could be vague. It might be a few months. Who knows?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think there are people. I don't know how to. There's an awkwardness to how people there are people who are doing things that normally kids would do, like running messages around town and doing some chores and doing things that you don't think people that age would do, because the kids would normally be doing it. Yeah, that's my thought.
Thank you.
I think that there was like a sort of playground, with a sort of swing set or something like that going on. And where the children normally would walk, plants have that started that early growth of creeping back in, so that the path where they were walking isn't clear anymore.
Sounds like these kids, especially with the schoolhouse and what Alicia just described, maybe these kids have been missing or going missing for much longer than you were led to believe, which is interesting. Daniel?
I was gonna say there's maybe what used to be a candy shop has been completely boarded up. Like you can see the cobwebs growing on the machine that pulled taffy.
So these kids have been gone for a long time. That adds an interesting wrinkle to things, doesn't it? In any case, you have a contact. And this woman, her name is Winifred. I'll type that for you. She speaks for the village in this matter, and she meets you in a back room of the beer hall, a private room, lit with just a little lantern, sitting around a wooden table with Winifred. And she explains to you that if you can, basically any child you can bring back, the village has managed to put together some money and you'll get a small sack of silver. If you can figure out what is going on with the kids in general, just where are they, where have they been, what happened to them, the big story, the big picture, you get a bigger sack of silver. In game terms, for every kid you bring back, it's 2 gold. For just finding out what happened, it's 4 gold. Also, because you're treasure hunters, anything you can get your hands on that just happens to be around or is there to be taken or plundered, of course, you have that as well. This woman, Rasten, will pick up the scene with all of you sitting around the table after she's made her, or Winifred rather, as she's made her offer. She says, I have some thoughts about what's going on. Everyone in the village does. I think it has to do with, well, our local lord, Duke Carmenrot. He arrived here about a month ago, staying in his summer home, just a little to the north. His arrival, well, coincided with an uptick in more children going missing. And I think the two things are connected. But everyone around here has a theory. She says, I thank you for your help with this matter. As you might imagine, everyone is most distressed. A little paint the scene about her. Everyone that you've seen so far is what you would expect to find in a kind of somewhat isolated, remote village. They have a hard look. They look like they are just kind of getting by. But everyone, please tell me, what about Winifred makes you think that she comes from a more privileged background?
I think that the clothes she's wearing are made of like fabrics and patterns that are just not seen around here. They're totally like quote unquote foreign, for lack of a better word.
I think she has really good teeth.
She is not wearing the wooden clogs that most people wear around here.
I think that she just maybe doesn't have an accent or has an accent that's more proper.
She sounds more refined. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I have some things to share with you. The first thing I have to share with you is a Google drawing. I will give you the link right now. A Tower Darkly is a hex scroll. And here is the image board of that link I just sent you that you can go to see the hex scroll. You are all in A2, which is the village of Reston. And we have a set goal. That's the other thing I have to give you. A set goal for the village of Reston, which is listen to the rumors of what happened to the kids. And so Winifred gets up and she says, well, you'll want to get cracking on it, I guess. You might ask around, see if anyone else around here has heard anything. You might find some other leads that are less complicated than confronting the local duke. And she says, well, I'll leave you to it. And she tells you where you can find her once you have either information and or a kid in tow. And she exits out to the front part of the beer hall. And the four of you are there around the little table, perhaps with a mug of ale. And you can have the scene, or otherwise just tell me what you do.
Yeah, I think Wo Doom's head is like it turned to follow her out. And you can like it's vaguely contoured, so you can see which side is of their face is front and which is not. And the head just keeps turning and then focuses on the toy shop. And just you could just see like Woad is just looking at it, deeply uncomfortable.
How did it make you feel when you walked by the toy shop and saw little wooden marionettes in the window?
Yeah, not not great. Like just like it was mocking me personally. Not a good feeling.
This might be a good chance to explore what you look like a little bit for everybody.
Yeah.
Like to describe Wood Doom. What does Wood Doom look like? How does he? How do they carry themselves?
Yeah, I think they were made to, fight and fence against, and then animated so that they could be, better at it, and actually give more feedback to the student. So they've got brass hinges on the elbows and shoulders and the joints, and the kind of like brass and metal and like iron outlines, and then like wood in between, lots of spinning joints that and hands that are just kind of can look kind of clunky and can just kind of grab a weapon or a shield, so that they can again teach a student how to hit things. And they've got their main weapon is a chain, like our manacles, and so that's kind of wrapped around their chest kind of crosswise. And yeah, that's them.
I'd like for you to take a condition, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Based off of just being in town, seeing the toy shop especially. The condition is going to be too much woodworking. Let's keep the scene going though. Kiva, what do you do?
I think I'm going to stand up very abruptly and say, we must talk to the rats.
Nice.
And if no one says anything, I'll just walk away.
No, I think Woad's head turns and says, "You can talk to rats."
The rats know everything.
I'm not doubting that animals know things. I'm just asking. That's amazing if you can do that. Do you have a ritual?
Of course I can do that.
Yeah, I think Woad will stand up with you and say that sounds like a fine place to start.
So, do you think that Macero has seen you talk to rats before, or at least attempt to talk to rats before? Is this a thing that you do often?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm within the rules of Trophy Gold. I'm unsure if I can actually talk to rats. This will be fun to discover,
Sure.
But
yeah,
definitely you've seen me try to
Attempt,
or
okay.
pretend to do
To
it
speak to rats. Yeah.
if I haven't done it.
Macero's going to roll his eyes and just be like, "Here we go again." But he wants to go explore the town, so he'll stand up as well and be ready to go.
Sounds good. Parda, tell us what you look like.
Parda is he's like a wiry kind of guy. He's tall and thin and wears a kind of orange cloak with a hood. And he kind of has like really an intense gaze. He's always when he's staring at you, he's staring at you a little too hard and maybe a little too close. But and I think when Kiva mentions, talking to the animals, his attention is right there, and he will just follow Kiva wordlessly.
How much do you want to share about your bespitten or your cured bespitten nature at this point? You don't have to share anything, but
It's definitely not a bear. So
okay.
the rest we can figure out.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're all at least heading out of this back room. And when you do, you step out into the sort of the main gathering place of the beer hall. It seems like this time of day, which is the sun is just going down, people have gathered here, right? The woodcutters are just, well, there's not as many as you would think. You would think that the place would be filled with woodcutters, celebrating the end of a good work day. But, you've been in enough pubs and stuff before to know what that's like. But that's really not what's going on here. It feels a little empty. But there are people around. And Parda, Winifred appears from the shadows, out of the hearing of the others, and pulls you aside. And she says, Parda, right?
He'll just incline his head.
Listen to me, Parda. I do hope you and your colleagues are able to determine what happened to the children in this poor, benighted village. And I do hope that you are able to procure evidence that the Duke Carmenrot, was somehow responsible. If you should produce such evidence, even if this evidence is not entirely dependable, I would be happy to put a little extra silver in your pocket.
He will nod and say, you and the Duke have history?
Something like that. I'll tell you that he's here the last month. He's here to visit his brother, the Duke Schwartz. The Duke Schwartz lives in the tower to the south of the village. And the Duke Carmenrot is at his summer home just north of here. This visit is political in nature and has to do with a dispute between them. But that dispute is not my business. I only hope that you will find some very damning evidence against Duke Carmenrot.
I'll keep my eyes open. And as he says this, like he hasn't blinked the whole time.
Very good. So, Massaro, you're out in the beer hall. Kiva, you are as well. Kiva, rats are a thing you can find fairly easily. And Wodum, it sounds like you were just sort of tagging along with Kiva. We'll start with Kiva. Kiva, what's your move here?
I'm gonna find some rats. And I'm not very subtle about it. I feel like I'm like hunched over and I'm like whispering to the rats and calling them like they're my babies.
Good. There is a rat that is walking in your general direction. Wodum, unclear if the rat is actually responding to Kiva's pleas or not. It is engaged in rat-like behavior in Kiva's direction. And but
Well, I
will
mean,
give-
what one of Wodoom's most like memorable memories is like vaguely falling in love with a sassy wolf who might have also been a woman. So like
exactly.
his he can suspend his disbelief for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of beast spit,
They,
right?
yeah.
Kiva, let's have a hunt roll. So the way this works is whenever you are looking for information or otherwise asking questions about the world or searching, you get to do the hunt roll. Now you get one light die just because. You get a second light die if you can work in a skill or a piece of equipment, okay? And I recommend the second light die, especially once you have some tokens, because if you ever roll a 1, you lose all your tokens. But if you roll 2 dice, you have a chance. You're at the mercy of 1 die if you just roll 1 die. But if you roll 2 dice, you have a better chance of not your highest die not being a 1, right? So you get 1 die just because, taking a look at your skills or your equipment. And here your equipment can be, you have 3 slots that are just like free slots that you can click on the drop down and just grab something that you brought, right? So a skill or a piece of equipment will get you that second die. Or you can just roll 1.
Yeah, can I have my little pot of honey. Can I entice the rat?
Of course, yeah. Absolutely. How are you doing that?
I think I keep a tiny little bit in like my pocket, and so I just like dip a finger in there and then like kind of like put it out, but like subtly, so people don't know that I'm using the honey to get the rat to come to me.
They just think the rats come to you. Yeah,
yeah.
Erase a use from your honey and roll hunt 2. So you'll do /hunt space 2. Okay, so you got a 3, which means you encounter something terrible. You get no token and you encounter something terrible. What you learn is up to me. It's always up to me what you learn, but the dice just determine whether you get a token and or encounter something terrible. We'll come back to that in a moment though. What are you doing in the meantime, Wodoom? Just watching? You're muted, Jed.
I know, I got it. I think I'm going to leave her to talk to the rats and walk over to the, I think I'm just cross, I can't stay over the it's like a magnet. The toy shop is a magnet. I can't stay away from it. Yeah, I think I'm going to walk into the toy shop and try to get a rumor out of the toy maker.
Yeah, okay, good. I like it. Let's pick up with that scene.
Yeah, I think, you know, as Woad walks by, like they kind of absent-mindedly like move some of the marionettes, like just like click, like just like move their hands by it, so that they kind of click and clatter and sway a little bit, and their head is just kind of turning around just to see everything. Yeah, just trying to like get a grip on this weird place.
Yeah. So I love it. Paint the scene, everyone. Always everyone. This is a dingy, grimy, sawdust-covered village. But stepping into this toy shop is like stepping into another world altogether. Maybe not literally. How so?
Yeah, there's a carpet without any sawdust on it, without any wood or sawdust shavings, like a really nice carpet from far away, you know, very soft floor.
The walls have all been painted with a mural of like a really whimsical forest, lots of colorful animals.
I think inside there's a lot of like metal things, like maybe some kind of tinkerer has created all of these strange metal contraptions in contrast with like the woodsy outdoors.
I think any wood that is in the shop is all like pristine, like fresh. It has just been sanded and is like almost pops, whereas everything that's in the rest of the villages, it's been there a while. It's started to have moss and mold kind of grow on it. It just is like damp.
I love it. We'll pick up the scene in a moment. Let's go to Masera. So Masera, what are you doing in the ale hall right now?
I'm looking for anybody that seems like they're out of place, like their job has been misplaced because there are no children in town. So like maybe a teacher who used to work at the schoolhouse, or but they're now palling around with the woodcutters because that's the only
that's
thing.
easy. Yeah, that's easy. Great approach. This is, maybe somebody will tell you, maybe the barman or something will tell you that that would be the teacher, Edvard.
Okay.
Edvard is he's too slight to be a woodcutter, and he was the teacher of the village's children, but there hasn't been much of a need for that in recent times.
Mhm.
And so now he mostly just hangs around the bar, getting drunk, going home with wifeless woodcutters who need to have their troubles eased. And you'll see him. There aren't many woodcutters around either, so Edvard is just sitting by the fire,
Okay.
already quite deep into his cups. What do you do?
So the bartender the barkeep tells me that he's the former teacher.
Yeah. You can know all that
Yeah.
going into it.
I'll probably walk up and says, "Ahoy, Edvard."
He looks up at you and says, "Oh, hello. This might be a good opportunity to find out what you look like, Masero."
Yeah, I think just generic leather vest, shirt, armor, and then black hair. Not really any kind of description beyond that. I think that his hands are quite more manicured than you would expect from a former thug, just because he uses them a lot to work on tiny projects or pick locks or whatever.
Edvard says, "Well, the fact that I've never seen you here before, and the fact that your hands are quite fine, I'm going to guess that you are not a woodcutter."
I am not. We're looking for some of your former students, hopefully.
Make the hunt roll. You get your first light die. If you can justify the second light die, by all means, let me know.
I don't think so.
He's rolling down.
Yeah, I'll just do one for now.
Hunt one.
Six.
Hey, 6. Go ahead and mark a hunt roll token, and we'll pick up the scene in a moment. Parduk, what are you doing?
I think he's going to kind of slide into a seat at the bar and just stare at the barkeep until the barkeep comes to pay attention to him.
Are you unnerving to look at?
Not when he's not staring at you.
Mhm.
When Parda has you in his sights, it's very intense.
The barkeep comes over. He's sort of like wiping down the bar, like, all barkeeps do. And he says, I have to apologize. This place is usually a little bit more lively.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. It's what did the torchbearers do? Or sorry, the woodcutters do?
What did they do?
I'll give you a hunt roll.
Don't suppose hunting qualifies?
I don't, we have to keep the scene going a little bit more for that, I think. He says, well, let's just say that they got themselves into a bit of trouble out in the woods, and now they hardly ever come back. And when they do, they have a strange look in their eyes.
What else is in the woods?
Well, there aren't many woods left, which is part of the problem. But I'm sure all manner of beasts, both foul and fair and fell.
You're a barkeep. People talk to you. They tell you more than that.
I think we're getting to the hunt roll. I still think we're only on one die, though.
1.
You would have lost all your tokens if you had any, but otherwise you encounter something terrible. We'll come back to that. Let's pick up with Kiva. So Kiva, while you are talking to the rat, there is an old man who's sort of sitting in the corner table near where you are, and he's watching you. And he says, "You'll want to be careful there."
I'm going to turn to look at him, except that I'm wearing like a plague doctor mask, so it doesn't.
Oh, you're wearing a plague doctor mask?
Yes. Yes.
That's a dramatic look.
And I was going to say, I know what I'm doing.
I've no doubt. I've no doubt. But you'll want to be careful, because they hang women in this village. They hang women for witches. They see witches everywhere. And women who look strange go about in strange garb and talk to the animals. Those are the sorts of women that get into trouble in this place, in Rasten. In fact, if you ask me, that's what happened to the children. It's the witches taking their revenge on Rasten. There's a gallows just south of here. They've just hung some. It is a constant struggle, I have no doubt. And there is one witch in particular who has cursed this village. It is all connected. That's what's happening to the kids. It's payback. And perhaps it's payback that we deserve.
I will say, yeah, I'm gonna turn to look at him again, and I'm gonna say, if you're hanging women for being witches, I don't think it's a question of what you deserve.
That's one of your rumors, though. Let's cut back over to Wodoom. Wodoom, the man behind the counter, as you're coming in, before he sees you, he says, "Oh, we're just closing up. Oh. And he's a kind of a sprightly fellow, wearing a cravat, which is really unusual for this part of the world. Very fancy sort of silk thing. And he comes around and he says, "Oh, one of the mannequin folk. Well, you should know that your kind are very, very welcome in this shop. In fact, don't take this the wrong way, but I would be more than happy to put a polish on some of your joints, or to grease them up, or perhaps a coat of varnish on your wood."
Oh,
As you can
nice.
see, I do very fine work. And he holds up a puppet.
Yeah. Yeah, something about that odd, whereas that should make Woe Doom more uneasy. It actually doesn't. It kind of, I think they have seen people like go into the barber shop and like get touched up and has never been able to do anything like that for themselves. So they kind of, oh yes, that would be nice.
He says, oh, come back into my workshop. Here, let me just lock up. And he goes and locks up. And you follow him back into the workshop?
Yeah, and I think I start to make like barbershop small talk and say like, at first I thought maybe the children being missing would affect your sales, but I doubt many woodcutters can afford what you have to sell.
Yes, yes. Well, truth be told, I've never really made much money here. And he kind of closes the door behind you into the workshop, and he says, toys are not my real business.
Ah.
But we'll leave that for another day, say. Have a seat, have a seat.
Yeah, I'll sit.
And he does. When you go in, like if you could smell, I don't know if you can smell or not, but if you could smell, you would smell like the heavy scent of varnish, right?
Right.
And mechanical oil, that kind of thing, right? And he begins to like do this work. He begins like scrubbing off the rust from your metal bits and putting on coats of varnish on your wooden bits. Everyone, just please take a moment, everyone but Judd, please take a moment to tell me how this work that's being done on Woe Doom is almost sensual.
So there's like camera shot, slow-mo close-up of like some like oil like dripping into a palm and being rubbed together.
The brush strokes of some lacquer being applied is very slow and careful.
Once it starts to dry, he rips off some like butcher paper and then balls it up to just buff out the shine.
So
nice.
Woe Doom, I'll give you a 2-die hunt roll. Just to see how this conversation proceeds.
Oh, right. I actually roll on the thing. Yeah.
With
you get that up.
With your corpus being the second die.
I see. 2, yeah. Backslash hunt 2.
Yep. Okay, you get a token, but you encounter something terrible. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Okay.
Let's pick up with Macero. Macero, what was your die roll?
6.
6, that's right. He says, Edvard says, yes, the children. It's all quite, well, you're going to think this is very foolish, but I was out walking in the clear cut, as I often do these days. Just earlier today, in fact, and I saw one of the children out by the old Ranger way station. They looked frightened. I tried to approach, but when I did, they weren't there. Perhaps they were hiding. Perhaps they'd ran off, but I know what I saw. There was a child of Rasten at that old way station.
Do you remember their names?
Yes. The boy I saw, his name was Carl. I called out to him. He had been missing for a number of days. And as best I can tell, he never came back to the village. It makes me wonder what those kids are doing out there, wherever they are. That's another rumor. A child, Carl, out at the old Ranger way station. Parda? What was your die roll? 1.
One.
That's right. Counter something terrible. The barkeep will tell you some stuff. I'm gonna take a look at my notes real quick though. So you were talking about the woodcutters, and he says, well, I've heard a rumor about those woodcutters. Their current camp is south of here. They, how much do you know about the wood cutting trade, friend?
Assume nothing.
Well then, you should know that it is custom for woodcutters to save a portion of the wood they cut for Saint Ara, the torchbearer. It is customary to set aside some of the wood for torches. This is how we honor Saint Ara. And I've heard that they have not been setting aside wood for the torches, and Saint Ara is very displeased. If you ask me, the children are payment, recompense, restitution to appease Saint Ara. She uses the children as torchbearers to light the way for the dead to reach the afterlife.
And why would the woodcutters just stop doing that?
Well, you should probably just go out there and have a look for yourself.
My thanks for your time.
The rumor is, to be very clear about it, basically the woodcutters got themselves in some trouble with Saint Ara, the torchbearer, and are snatching the kids. Maybe they gotten involved in a scheme they can't stop. You know, things spin out of control sometimes, and they're responsible for the kids going missing. The kids are becoming torchbearers in the spiritual realm. Let's go back to Wood Doom. Wood Doom, you got a 4?
Yeah.
The terrible thing you encounter is you learn this man's business, his true business. He says, I mentioned that I don't make my money selling toys. That is, in fact, a front. No. I am engaged in that second oldest of professions, smuggling. People bring me things, and things that are of dubious provenance, and I see those things off to buyers who might be interested. Do you have anything, you or your colleagues? Something that you might have gotten your hands on in an untoward way that you need moving?
Not yet, but we have just begun. Is there anything you're looking out for in particular?
Well, yes, actually. The tower south of here, where Duke Schwartz has made his seat as of late, it is actually filled with quite a number of antiquities that are not often seen in the world anymore. Fashions, furniture styles, that sort of thing. I'd be happy to take such things off your hands, and I have plenty of buyers who would be very, very interested in things like that. I'll give you a good price for it. And here he'll explain to you that the nearby port of Butcher's Bay is where he moves his goods through. He'll also mention about the kids. He thinks that the kids have been snatched and put on ships in Butcher's Bay and sent to other parts of the world. And with all that said, you have achieved the set goal. You have heard the 4 rumors. And when he's all done with you, he says, there we are. You look good as new. Almost. You know, it's a quick job, but certainly better than when you walked in, no offense.
No, it feels very nice. Thank you. This is what my friends talk about as self-care. Is good.
Good. You can erase that condition.
Oh, cool.
And with the set goal met, having heard all the rumors, all the potential things that where these kids might be, what might be going on, you'll also get a layout. Your people will tell you the lay of the land in our little hex crawl here. I've already kind of mentioned some things, but basically the tower in the north is where Duke Carmenrot is. The tower in the south is where his brother Duke Schwartz is. Just to the south of the village is the gallows. Just south of that is the woodcutter camp. And then we have Butcher's Bay on the east side, and the Lone Witch and the way station are all somewhere on the east side. All of this area is quite small. From Hex B1, where Duke Carmenrod is, down to Hex B7, where Duke Schwartz is only a mile. So you can reach all this stuff like very quickly. And so I think I'd like to just put everybody back together at the pub. If that's okay. Role play.
Can I have the rat in this scene? Can I have like befriended the rat?
Sure.
Excellent.
You can add it to your found equipment.
Oh my god, I put it in my cage of rats.
Oh, you have a cage of rats. Okay. One more rat for the pile.
Cage of rats and pots of honey are definitely the 2 things that get the most creative use I've seen.
Yeah, they're very popular
Yeah.
items.
Definitely. I mean that in like the best of ways. That's cool. They're outside the box fun toys. Yeah, Woe Doom will kind of feel it like he's like they've got to spring in their step a little bit as they come in and say, the toy maker believes that the children were trafficked out of Butcher's Bay to other places. Feels a little neat, but
The former teacher said that he saw one of the children out by the Ranger way station, but I don't know how much you can trust a drunk.
Carter will relate what he heard, but he won't mention the offer Winifred made.
I'm going to start by complimenting Wodoom on looking fresh. And then I'm just gonna like pet my rat by being like, yeah, there are a bunch of misogynists here. But there's some dead bodies we can go look at.
Freshly dead?
The old man will holler from across the way. They hung him just 2 days ago.
That guy's real excited about it. Pretty sure I'm going to be murdered.
We won't let that happen. Probably.
And so,
And I think
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Pardo will stand and say, let's go see the body.
Yeah.
Down to the gallows hill.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
It's a short jaunt from the village, like I said, probably not even 1/8 of a mile. But it is outside the village. And the sun is still, I think the sky is still pretty pink at this point. You can't miss it. You see the silhouette of 3 people hanging by their necks on a scaffold. It's the type of thing that has a trapdoor bodies are kind of partially submerged into the trapdoor area. Up on a little hill. Parda, it was your idea. What do you do? Oh, new set goal, by the way. This set goal is for basically the lands around the village, and it is find out where the kids are.
He will look to Kiva and say, their crimes.
Being witches. Pretty sure it's just being women.
Yeah. Woad nods at that and walks by the witches and brushes his hands against their feet the exact same way he brushed his hands against the marionettes in the toy shop. And says, can anyone speak to the dead?
They rarely speak back.
Does anyone have a ritual that would allow them to speak to the dead and allow them to speak back?
I think Macero will try to go up and try to cut him down.
So you can climb onto the sort of little dais area, and the bodies are still fairly fresh. The flies have started to settle in. The flesh is quite hardened and black veined at this point. And you can begin to cut them down. That'll take you a bit though. What are you doing in the meantime, Kiva?
I think I'm gonna actually wait for Macero to cut the bodies down, because then I want to look at them, because I want to see if there's anything else going on. Is this really how they died? You know, I got my forensics here. Got
Okay, very good.
my creepy doctor glasses on.
While Macero is cutting down the bodies, is there anything you're doing, Parda?
Is there any, like, does the executioner live nearby? Is there any kind of habitation?
Like a little hut. Yeah, there's like a little hut nearby.
I think I'll go and knock on that door.
And Wadum?
I think I'm fascinated that what Macero is doing, and so I'll kind of watch and say, what are you doing?
It's disrespectful to just leave them hanging here.
You are going to anger the villagers, and by bringing out that anger, hope to find answers about the children.
I was just going to bury them.
Oh. As a show of respect to them. This has nothing to do with the children.
Yep.
I will help.
Wonderful. Grab I have another knife if you need one.
Cool. Yeah, I do. Please, thank you.
Little hut. Parda. It is a very small 2-room shack. It is most likely where the gallows operator lives. Such people are, despite the fact that they serve a function that Rasten must want, they are not, or I should say, they are considered ill-favored company, and so they keep to themselves just outside the village. This is not uncommon. What do you do?
I'll knock. Or first, actually, I'm going to scope around the, see if I can get a sense of whether someone's living here, who lives here.
Make a hunt roll.
Does hunting come in handy here?
I think so, since you're kind of like looking for presumably tracks or something, right? Or some evidence that someone's there. I think that's okay.
A 4.
A 4. Take your token, and we'll pick up with that in a moment. With Wodoom's help, Macero, you can get the bodies down much faster. Kiva, once the bodies are down, what do you do?
So I want to, I mean, obviously we've seen them hanging here, but I'm looking to see if there's evidence of other injuries. Is this actually how they died? Or I know I'm gonna look for strange marks on their body. I am suspicious.
Make a hunt roll.
Can I use my forensics here?
Absolutely. 2 dice.
It would help if I could type the right thing.
Nice. 5, you get a token, but encounter something terrible. We will come back to that in a moment as well. In fact, let's just take a quick break. Let's take like a 3-minute break, a little bio break, and we'll come back and continue. Kiva, you got a token. And as you're examining the bodies, I will tell you that the villagers might be onto something. Something about the bodies of these women indicates they might be witches. What is it?
I think they all have the same like ritual tattoo.
Intriguing. Anybody have any thoughts on what that tattoo is of?
I think it's the symbols of a probably well-known sister, but they've been corrupted.
Very interesting, very interesting. I could grab one from Loom if you want. Let's just have some fun here. Find my saints, sisters and saints. Here we go. It is the sister is Saint Evelyn, Evelyn the White, patron saint of doctors and nurses, routinely honored by the wearing of pristine white garments. Except today she's known as sort of like a physicker saint, right? A hospitaler saint. But during the bleak age known as the era of occlusion, she was known for the exact opposite. Mercy killings to those left desperate by the apocalyptic wars that defined those years. I think these symbols are an indication that these women were followers of the true Saint Evelyn, the mercy killing Saint Evelyn. What is it? What's the indication of that?
I mean, it could be her normal symbol, which is like maybe that kind of staff with the snakes in it, but instead of the instead of the snakes, it's in the heads of the snakes there's just knives.
Interesting. I like it. So yeah, this is quite profane, especially you being a former leech, Kiva. You would recognize it immediately, right? This is a profanity against Saint Evelyn. The villagers might have a point. I'll leave that up to you. But in any case, it gets worse from there. While you are searching the bodies, Wodum and Macero, you hear something underneath the apron, underneath the structure, right? Like the gap below the scaffolding. Something skittering around down there, scratching. And you hear the noise. And just this would be down below where the bodies would be hanging, right? Wodum, what do you do?
Yeah, I shrug the chain off and just get it, take it across my hands and make sure that if I swing it, I'm not going to hit anyone, and say, you know, you can come on out, it's safe.
We'll come back to that. Parda. No one answers, or no one seems to be there, like no people anyway, as best you can tell. And the door is actually ajar. Do you go in?
Yes.
As you're stepping into the little hut, you hear crunching sounds, wet sounds, snuffling sounds. What do you do?
Going to ready my hatchet and try and use my knowledge of beasts to see if I can see any sign of what might be in here.
It doesn't take long. It's a small hut, as you'll recall. As soon as you go in, you see 3 very large black wolves. These wolves are tall, and they would be muscular and powerful if not for the fact that they are missing great big strips of flesh, their ribs exposed, their viscera dangling out. Their eyes, when they look up at you, are as red as embers. And they leap. Everybody else, you hear the commotion very quickly from across the way. You see Parda being surrounded by these 3 hellish wolves as they snap and bite. This is a combat. If you're joining the combat, please say how you're vulnerable and roll /weak to get your weak point. Parda, you have no choice.
Being surrounded by 3 undead
Yeah, the
wolves,
fight's like come
very
out. Yeah,
vulnerable.
they've like pushed you out of the hut at this point, so it's kind of out in the open now. But you'll get a glimpse as they leap at you. They were feasting on whoever was in that hut.
I think Mysterio's going to jump off the top of the gallows and then rush over there. So it's probably just out of breath.
That's how you're vulnerable, as you're tired.
Yeah.
Very good. Parda, how are you vulnerable?
Surrounded by 3 wolves that he wasn't expecting.
Fair enough, fair enough. Are you joining the fray here, Woe Doom?
Yeah, Woad is joining, and they are vulnerable because they're hesitating to hit wolves. They have a memory of a wolf who was kind of a frenemy and doesn't, and just, yeah, they're hesitating.
Indeed, indeed. And so we have a weak point of 6 for Prada, a weak point of 1 for Woad, a weak point of 2 for Macero. And Kiva, are you joining the fight?
Oh, this is tough call. Yes, I will. And I think my weak point, I didn't really get to describe what I look like, but I think my weak point is that the wolves are bigger than I am. I'm very short, very tiny, slight.
These are very big wolves too. Yeah. So this is a tough fight. I'll tell you that right now. It is, because there are 3 of them and they're quite big, it is a combat 10. And so the way this works is, and also just for people watching the video, it looks like Kiva's weak point is 1 as well. So we have 6, 1, 2, and 1. 1 is a bad number. Weak point of 10, we're going to have a combat 4. Parda, you can do the honors. Go ahead and roll combat 4. We're looking for 10 total on the 2 highest dice. It is a 6, 5, 5, and a 3. So a 6 and a 5 is 11. So the combat is successful. However, it looks like Parda is going to take a hit. So bear that in mind in your narration. But Parda started off. What does the fight look like?
I think it starts off with a half success as Parda is pushed onto his back by a lunging wolf, and he manages to get his hatchet into its head just as its teeth latch into his forearm.
Very good. Thank you. Keep it going, Woad.
Yeah. Wode begins spinning at the elbow, and I think it takes a second. Like there's a jolt of, oh my goodness, my joints are moving so much smoother now that they're oiled and taken care of, and just kind of wades in, trying to get the chain onto the wolves' heads as it's spinning, and I think when it makes contact, it's pretty, visceral and brutal.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep it going, Macero.
I think so. All that happens, and it's the wolves are the last wolf is, or one of the wolves is still approaching Parda, and Viscera just comes like almost stumbling off of a full sprint, and just levels his whole shoulder into the side of a wolf and takes it out.
Nice. And Kiva finished off.
Yeah, so I come running from the gallows, and as I get into the fray, I have my surgical blade, which is my weapon, and I slide under one of the wolves and like drag the blade down it.
Very good. The viscera spatters and sprays all over your face and body, Kiva. It gets in your mouth a little bit. Right between your lower lip and gum. It is a fell taste. Victory. Kiva, please roll a gold 10 to find out if there's anything salvageable on these poor benighted beasts. There is indeed. You got a 1. 1 gold worth of value is found among these things. Whoever gets to define it, whoever wants to define what that thing is, gets to keep it. So say what it is.
As a cured beast bitten, would I be able to tell whether these were straight up wolves or?
These were not natural wolves, nor were they beast bitten. You'll also get to name these creatures for the bestiary as well at some point.
Should we take maybe it's the pelts? We strip the fur off of them.
Yeah, and since they are kind of like mangy, holy creatures, probably with all four pelts, 1 gold is all you're getting out of it.
Right.
So that's pretty heavy too. So whoever's carrying it gets to put in their found equipment. It's worth 1 gold, but bear in mind it's a bit of a burden. Mange wolves, witch wolves. These are some good names. Got 2 votes for mange wolves.
Yeah, I like mange wolves. That's great.
That's what we'll name them then. By themselves, they're only an endurance 9 or 8. In a pack, they're 10.
Nasty.
But you have a moment to catch your breath while Woad is taking care of the pelts, it sounds like. And Macero, I'll remind you that there's something skittering around underneath the apron of the gallows. Kiva, you've just discovered some very interesting information about the nature of these women. And Parda, you have the hut to yourself now. So what's everyone doing right now? We know what Woad Doom's doing, but Macero?
I think Sarah will just bring up just right after the comment, it's like, well, while we're doing this, there is something moving underneath the gallows that we might check out.
Also, part of just so we're all keeping track, what did your ruin go up to?
3.
3. Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, so Macero's mentioned this to everyone. Keep that going.
Anybody want to back me up while I go in there to take a look?
Parda will
Oh,
look very, very much like he's considering for a moment, and then withdraw his crossbow and mount the gallows.
right. Yeah, I'll go over and it's like the front of the gallows open, or is it like all kind of closed in a box?
It's basically
underneath?
like an upside down U with the crossbar, and then there's a platform with trapdoor, and it's beneath that structure.
Yep. Yeah, then I guess I'll mount the top of the gallows and get ready to jump down on that trapdoor.
Indeed. Kiva, what are you doing right now?
I would like to go back to the bodies, and I would like to, God, I haven't said this in so long. I would like to loot the bodies. I want to see if they have any personal effects on them that can give me more information or just cool stuff.
You can make a hunt roll, or you can just spend a token to get cool stuff. It's up to you.
Spend my token. I'm rolling like crap.
Very good. You're looking at their bodies, and you do find a knife. This knife is marked, the handle is the same symbol, the entwined snake symbol of Saint Evelyn. It's profane in the same way because the blade of the knife is actually piercing the snake's heads on the pommel, right? So it's this profane knife of Saint Evelyn. Some people would say it's a true knife of Saint Evelyn. It's magical, but I won't tell you what it does yet. It's worth 1 gold on its own. But if you can find out what it does magically.
Do I mark that it's worth 1 gold in my gold thing now?
No,
Like, do
you'll
I
put
have
it in found equipment and then put
Okay.
1 gold in parentheses next to it.
Okay.
The counter is just for like money and gems. So meanwhile, Parda, you were climbing the scaffold with or climbing the gallows with Macero. Macero's hopping down in. It's quite dark down there now, Macero, especially because the sun is fully well behind the tree line at this point. The sky is blue, dark. It's just a small, cramped, dark space. You're on your hands and knees, and in the very far corner, in the darkness, you hear what do you do?
We're not here to hurt you. Can you speak?
Make the hunt roll.
That'd be useful. I would like to use a hard candy.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. See if that like is enticement. Yeah, make 2
Yes.
dice. See how it goes. Nice. You get a token, but you encounter something terrible. This is what happens. The whimpering, snuffling, panting sound stops. And you hear the crunch of grass and gravel as whatever it is crawling closer to you. As it gets close to the opening in the trapdoor near where you are, where a shaft of weak moonlight is illuminating the space, you see a small, tiny hand reaching out from the darkness and takes the candy. And then you see more fully, it is a child. They are terrified, but they're opening the candy and they put it in their mouth. And you're just sitting down there in the dark. Parda, it looks like Macero has this under control. What are you doing now?
He'll go back to the hangman shack.
Indeed. And Woe Doom, you can have the pelts sorted. You can put that in your gear. It's found equipment worth 1. Parda, the hangman is probably the person who has had their rib cage opened up like a blood cornucopia filled with remainders of stomach and lungs and heart, all chewed and masticated and ground up, blood everywhere. It's a 2-room affair. The front room has a hearth and a little table. The back room has a bed. What do you do?
Going to look for both anything worthwhile that I could walk away with, and also any sign that maybe this man had something to do with the children.
Are you spending a token for the treasure, or are you doing hunt roll?
I think I'll spend a token for the treasure and then do a hunt roll.
Sounds good. The man knew instinctively, perhaps, or just maybe he just did instinctively. He grabbed his worldly possessions as much as he could to try to escape. And so he's got things in his hands still. Most important to you is a small pouch of silver coins that he had probably squirreled away for a rainy day. It's worth 1 gold, which you can note in your tracker. And you can do a hunt roll to look around otherwise.
Three.
We'll come back to that. Kiva, what do you do with this knife?
I just tuck it on my person.
Then what? I'll help you out. Because you will notice someone wearing all white, keeping up our St. Evelyn references, you will notice this person creeping about the shack, going in behind Parda.
Well, I guess I'm gonna shout.
Indeed. Parda, you'll hear the shout and turn, and you'll see an elderly woman wearing vestments of white, but the white has a single streak of red across the front, standing there in the doorway. Doom, what are you doing right now?
Yeah, I think Woad is, spins on their hip hinge when Kiva yells, and is watching to see how Parda is going to deal with the woman coming up behind him. I think they're waiting to follow that lead.
Macero, when Kiva yells, the boy gets scared and recedes back into the darkness. What do you do?
He probably reacts by standing up to see what's going on. And then well, he'll stay there and take like a stance of protecting the child and wait to see what happens.
Yeah, the kid is just startled. You can absolutely just like calm the kid if you wish.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's very like, you get the impression that maybe he just hid here, right?
Okay.
And he says, "Are you going to take me back to the village, back to Rasten?"
Is that where you want to go?
No, it's not where I want to go. I never want to go back there.
Why not?
They do terrible things in Reston. I want to be away from there.
Where do you want to go?
Where are you going?
We're looking for more children of Rasten.
Well, that's easy. I know where they're at.
Oh, excellent.
Meanwhile, Parda, you see an elderly woman in her white vestments. Her gray hair is kind of up, and she stands quite tall and straight for her age. And she says, "That man needed to be released, and now he is. Just like the village of Rasten needs to be released, and soon it will be."
Released from what?
From their suffering. And she walks, stepping almost purposefully in his blood and bone. This matter is well in hand. You are not needed here.
Disagree.
Very well. Well, you've got your silver, and you've cut down my sisters. I'll see to their bodies. Thank you.
Where are the children?
That I do not know. But I have a feeling that the saints, they are in the bosom of the saints. And that is a mercy.
Do you know the Duke?
Make a hunt roll at this point for asking questions.
2. I gotta stop asking questions.
Because I'm asking questions. Come back to that. Kiva and Wodum, from what you can tell from outside the hut, the woman doesn't seem to be any particular threat, though she is certainly cryptic and cuts a certain figure. Macero, the boy will tell you all the children are in Duke Schwartz's tower in the south. He says, a horrible thing takes them, a skeletal thing, a man wearing tattered silk robes, his skin barely clinging to the skull, stretched tight and yellow. I can see his jaw. I can see the tongue bouncing around in his mouth. He comes at night and he takes them to the tower. He says, we will help him achieve new life. I ran, but I didn't return. I stayed out in the clear cut for a while. But then I saw those things, the wolves, and so I hid here. That is Sekul met. You know where the kids are.
Who's the person in the village that told us it was the children were, or thought the children were taken south? Because there was the one that Parda knows, that, or the Winifred told Parda to frame the Duke in the north.
Right, yeah.
And I remember there was someone that said they were taken to the south tower, the tower in the south.
No one actually mentioned the tower in the south, but they did mention that the Duke's brother, another Duke by the name of Schwartz, is in the south tower.
Okay.
And
that's what I
And that
remember.
the
Yeah.
woodcutters have a camp in the south.
The woodcutters do have a camp in the south, and the barman thought that the woodcutters were making reparations with Saint Ara, the torchbearer. It still might all be connected, I don't know, but you know where the kids are. You don't have any reason to think this boy is lying. So.
Yeah. Oh man.
He says, "Can I stay with you?"
Sure.
Meanwhile, the old woman says, "You may uncover things that would be best, and indeed would prefer to stay hidden beneath the rocks, things that crawl, things that live, suckling from the teats of a most vile underbelly. And I can talk of these things. You can come find me whenever you wish. My home is on the east side of the clear cut. Thank you for your help here, though I do not appreciate the brutality with which you dispatched my helpers."
Perhaps I shouldn't have started our conversation with teeth.
Fair enough, fair enough. You got a 2. And she will, before she leaves, she leans in and says, "I know what you are."
He will lean closer and say, "You don't know who I am."
"I know what you are, and I know what you want. The sister has told me. You have no need to be with these people, these money grubbers, a mannequin. Come and find me. I will show you the true path."
He'll just stare at her until she leaves.
And she does. She makes her way over to the gallows. And everyone, please tell me, as she's looking at the bodies of her sisters, what does she do that shows genuine affection and a feeling of loss?
Maybe she kisses her mouth and touches it to each of their heads.
If Macero is still intending on burying them, perhaps she would tell him names to inscribe.
Nice.
I think she takes a moment to clean them too, just to wipe anything from their skin and to straighten their clothes.
I think that she's got some clean white vestments for each of them.
Very good. Thank you. The Sekul outside the village is met. You know where the children are, in the South Tower, but you have the whole hex crawl to yourself to do as you wish. You have one kid who, if you return a kid who does not want to go back, you'll get 2 gold for in payment. But in any case, I'd like to go around the table and find out what everyone's interested in doing from here on out. This can be an out of character discussion if we need to. What do you think, Judd?
I'm not sure. Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, just what do you want to do next?
Oh yeah.
You have the whole, you know things, you know where to go for the kids, but
Yeah.
there's other things around as well.
Yeah. I think Woad turns to them and says, and yeah, I think he steps in close so that the kid can't hear him and says, the heroic thing to do is go to the tower and get the kids. The cunning thing to do is to chain that kid up in the forest and wait for the thing that comes and gets children and ambush it.
Interesting indeed. Parda or Ben, if this is out of character, what do you want to do next?
Parda is definitely going to want to visit Carmen Rot, see what can be perhaps discovered.
Feels like there's a story there, right? I mean, Winifred obviously has it out for Carmen Rot, and she's not who she says she is. Carmen Rot is there to, quote, visit his brother. This visit feels antagonistic based off things you've heard. Interesting. Alicia, what do you think?
Oh, I'm so deep in this witch conspiracy now. So I want to follow that trail, but I'm happy to do whatever anyone else wants to do. But I either want to go chase our little lone witch lady or potentially go back to the town and like try to find out more about these particular women who are dead, like go to their homes, things like that.
I'll note that this is a very small area, like from tip to tip, it's just a mile. So you could all split up easily, right? And still be fairly close to each other. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, first, I love the introducing of the good guys, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not sure, almost immediately. I don't know what I'm going to do with this kid, but I'm open to both of the ideas that Rodun has.
Well, then we just need some decisions to be made here then. Sounds like everybody has slightly different intentions with what they want to go do, and that's okay. We love splitting the party. I do at least. So, what do we think? Let's have the scene. As you're finishing up the burials and after this sister of Saint, or this follower of Saint Evelyn, after she leaves.
I feel like I am like hunched over my cage of rats, like appearing to converse with them. And then I'm going to turn to everyone and be like, something is amiss.
Do you
We have
think?
to investigate these witches.
Parda will just say, I will go with you. She
Yeah.
lives to the east.
Let's see. We can go investigate the witches, but we can't leave the children for much longer.
Maybe we'll find some more along the way. Regardless, we can't take this child back. It doesn't want to go back.
That's fair.
Macero, do you want to go to the tower with me?
Are we going to, do you want to go to the tower? Do you want to maybe see if we can learn more about this creature that comes and takes the children in the forest first?
Let's discuss our strategic options on the way.
Okay.
And I think I'll
Perhaps.
also turn to the child and say, would you guide us there?
The child says, well, it will be difficult. Duke Schwartz has hired a company of mercenaries. They call themselves the Sparrows. They are in position all around the tower. I had to be very careful to avoid them. I think it has something to do with his conflict with his brother.
And we didn't want to go to the other tower first.
We will go north after visiting the witch. Yes?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Let's maybe the witches know a little bit more. Maybe the witches know something about this creature that stalks these woods. Let's go learn, see if we can learn more about that first.
Good.
That's 3 votes for going east to find this follower of Saint Evelyn.
Mhm.
She might object to being called a witch, though
Okay.
she does traffic in giant mangy hounds. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, we'll go with them. I mean, having said, and the reasoning is that I don't want to get caught fighting something and have it be stronger because we don't know about it, like the wolves.
Mhm.
That could have gone much worse. Let's know about this bone thing before we cross metal with it. And what's the child's name again? I'm asking.
This is Carl, the one that was at the way station.
Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Oh, nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, he mentioned he was hanging out at the Clear Cut, which is where you're headed right now.
Yep.
And indeed,
Cool.
if we look at the little map, hex, the seemingly empty hex B3 is the beginning of the Clear Cut, which is where you go next. If you go to B5, that's where the Sparrows are, the mercenaries, so you want to avoid that.
Okay.
But the Clear Cut is, it looks like a blasted wasteland. It is just like flat with very, very, very low tree stumps that have been, sheared. The tree has been sheared from them. And so you just see this, even under the moonlight, just this vast space of cut down trees. You can see very, very far, even in the moonlight, because the trees have been so cleared, right? And indeed, you find what was mentioned by Edvard, the old ranger way station. Back in the day, the ancient civilizations that used to dominate this land, they had these ranger way stations in the forest. Well, now that the forest is cleared, the ranger way station just is quite visible. And let's talk about that a little bit. That's a trophy loom, by the way, courtesy of Judd, who's on the call. Here we go. So old Kalduri way stations were once a way for the empire to safeguard travel and the economy. But as the monarchs grew more decadent and out of touch with humanity, the way stations by the old road grew strange. All way stations were built around a public house, a ranger fort, food stores, and a tower. All that's left of this one, though, is basically just, it's the remains of the public house and the tower. They're quite, everything else is quite crumbled all around. But as I paint the scene, even by lantern light, as you look around, how can you tell that this was built many centuries ago?
It doesn't have a stable. For whatever reason, things that were that old, they had another way of traveling that we have forgotten, and it just does not have stables.
I think
Part of the oh, go ahead, Ben.
you go. Sorry.
I was gonna say part of some of the crumbled remains. There's some kind of like natural element that is unrecognizable. We don't have it anymore.
Like a particular stone or something? Or-
Yeah, exactly. Like some kind of natural resource, a stone or a metal that just doesn't
Oh, I like it. Let's say it's a
exist.
stone that glows. You can see it like veining the masonry. This like glowing
Nice.
mineral. Anything to
I
add,
think
Daniel? Oh, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
the words and art that has been etched into it is not a language that has been seen in many years and no one can read.
I think there's a bridge that everything around it has crumbled, but for some reason this is still standing, and it doesn't. Nobody really knows why it didn't degrade, but it's like almost as if the rocks have fused together because they've been standing there for so long.
Intriguing. You actually notice some lantern light as you approach. There's someone there. Pardo, what do you do? You're still about a couple hundred paces away.
He's going to draw his crossbow, and I think he'll crouch down and start moving around, give the building a wide berth so that he can maybe see from the back and be ready if something comes out.
You can be doing that. Good. Kiva, what are you doing?
Marching straight on in, waving, hey.
Very good. We'll just pick up with that. You march in and you hear a startled sound. Oh, hello. I don't know who that is, but I mean you no harm.
But that's good because I mean you no harm.
Wonderful. Then we are close companions in this, in not meaning harm to one another. It's like we're almost friends.
I don't have any friends.
Well, that's all right. I shall be your first. And this man
That's sad.
walks out into this man who walks out into the opening of where where you can see him. He cuts quite a figure. He has a very wide-brimmed hat, a pointy wide-brimmed hat, and he's wearing a puffy silk sleeve shirt and pantaloons and soft boots, and he has spectacles on the edge of his nose, and he says, my name is Nemrak the Librarian. And you are?
Kiva.
Friendless.
Kiva.
Ah. Kiva, are you alone, Kiva?
Before I answer that question, what? I mean, I know that part has
What's
gone
everyone's
around,
doing? Yeah.
but what are and Macero doing?
I am probably staying more on the edge of town and just kind of protecting the child that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, he's worth 2 gold if we do
That's a lot of
choose
money,
to turn
too.
him in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's currently half of my burdens.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is just like a couple of crumbled structures, right? There's really like nothing else here but Nemrak the Librarian, a couple of crumbled structures and a very, very intact bridge. And Woad, are you staying back or are you walking up with Kiva?
Sorry, I was writing down notes. I'll walk up with Kiva, and I think like as soon as Kiva said she doesn't have friends, like the head swiveled, and not that Woad was sure that they were friends, but it just seems like an intense thing to say, and yeah, I think like yeah. Anyway, Woad is walking like forward with Kiva, but their head is definitely like turned towards Kiva, and I think Woad will say like, you have no friends.
Nimrak says, you know, it could be because of your sartorial choices. Your mask, for example, is not the most inviting or friendly thing.
Good sir, are you telling me to smile?
Oh shit.
He's like, of course not. Of course not. You can be as mysterious as you wish. But I happen to be something of a delver of mysteries, an uncoverer of the hidden. I'm a librarian. I'm a collector of knowledge. And, well, the work here is very fascinating. Do you know the stories of the old Kalduri way stations?
No? Do
Well-
you, Woad?
No, what is Kalduri?
Oh, well, of course. Well, the great forest of Kaldur is the Titanic forest that is well, all over, but there was an ancient civilization before the forest grew so thick. We call it Old Kaldur. It is long since lost, and these way stations, where, well, we believe that their rangers and soldiers and things used to use them as stopovers while they were traveling through the land. It's really all quite fascinating. And he's kind of he starts going in about, like all sorts of different like tales involving these way stations and all sorts of secret information, and how he's been like cataloging and writing down like the various symbols to try to like have a better understanding of the old Kalduri language. And he's just going on and on and on. And he eventually says, how rude of me. I didn't even ask what you're all doing out here.
We are looking for the children of Rasten.
Oh, I saw a child actually just earlier today. He was here hanging around, and well, I tried to call out to him, but he ran off.
Yes, we think we found him. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, one child down, one down, and how many more to go?
You know about the missing children?
No, I don't. I only stopped in Rasten briefly, and everyone seemed a little dour. They didn't smile quite enough for my taste. And I just continued on with my work. I have no interest in these people or their problems.
I think Parda will come in the door and say, that's not very friendly.
My goodness, for someone who doesn't have any friends, your traveling companions are many.
So you talked about the forest.
Yes,
No,
not
great
much of it left around
forest.
here.
Well, no, I mean, that's kind of my point, right? Not so much with the forest. Seems like an awful lot of trees for a tiny village to be cutting down.
Yes, perhaps. I have not really given it much thought. Trees are, well, my only interest in trees is that they can eventually be made into books.
You don't have a lot of helpful information.
Oh, we are exchanging helpfulness, are we? Well, in that case, as it turns out, I was accosted by a strange creature last night in the dark, and it managed to get away with well, most of my traveling equipment and a great number of books I had with me. I saw where the creature went, into a little hole in the ground, not far from here. Perhaps you could helpfully offer your services to retrieve my belongings.
And in return?
I shall pay you with the reward of knowledge, of course.
Pardon,
Knowledge doesn't pay the bills.
I have a little bit of coin as well.
I mean, we need to find the children.
He goes back.
By any chance, was the creature made of bone?
Well, it was dark and I couldn't quite make it out. As best I could tell, the creature was about yay tall and made quite a lot of guttural noises. There was a lot of chittering and clacking as well. I also thought I felt something quite thick and wet wrapping around my neck briefly, but that could have just been some sort of sensory response to the moment.
You said it was yay tall, but then you also said it went in a small hole in the ground?
Well, it was a relatively small, as compared to a gorge or a valley, but quite big.
Just gonna lean over to Wode and be like, I think this guy is crazy.
Maybe.
Where are you right now, Massaro?
I think that we'll have probably approached and gotten closer.
He says, my goodness, your party just keeps growing and growing. Oh, and I think that's the boy I saw earlier.
One moment, please. And I'm just gonna turn around and gather everyone for a private conversation that is not at all private in any ways, because I'm just very loud. And I'm gonna be like, so what are we gonna do?
Do we need to do anything?
Well, that guy says that he was attacked by a creature that was both big and small. And he wants us to go get his stuff back.
Carl says, I think I know what he's talking about. I think that thing chased me originally. That's why I ended up in those ruins.
Then
But you were chased by the wolves.
That was later, after I left the ruins.
This poor kid.
Was
Perhaps
the
it has
thing
chased
that,
other children.
yeah, was the thing that was chasing you the creature that was collecting the children?
Oh, no,
Or are you
no,
unsure? Okay.
That was some sort of beast. No, the person collecting the children, he talks, he speaks.
Okay.
He speaks, though he has no lips. It's as if the voice emanates from somewhere deep in the pit of his black heart or something.
I mean, I just feel like we're so very, very busy, but
yeah, I'm more interested in going and talking to the witch or the worshiper of the sister.
woods are very expensive though, and he does say he has a little bit of coin.
Carl says, oh, I was hiding in the hole. The beast has a fair amount of coin as well. Look. And he pulls out of his pocket like a shiny silver coin.
Okay, let's go find this beast.
Oof, yeah, this beast seems important.
Where was this hole that you said he went into?
And between Nemrek and Carl, they can point you in the right direction. On the map, it is in hex C2.
Perfect.
Okay, so first this situation, and then the witches, and then the North Tower.
Yeah, and then the South Tower. Well, the witches are in the same area, aren't they? Well, we know the witches are on the east side.
She's in C4. Yeah.
Okay. It's on the way. And we're currently in B3.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's on the way. We might as well take a look into it.
We have about 10-15 minutes of playtime left. I need a quick bio break though. So let's just take a quick 2-minute break and we'll come back and we'll do maybe one more scene, then we'll call it a session. Heading over into hex C2. Nemrak stayed at the ruins, but Carl takes you the rest of the way. And you see the hole. It is probably about 6 feet in diameter. And if you shine a torch or a lantern down into the hole, you'll see that it drops down about 10 feet, and then there's tunnel beyond that.
It turns out, I'm skilled in lairs.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Thanks to my rat catching.
This sounds
So
like you were in the lead then.
I'm going to drop on down there. Yeah.
Indeed. Once you drop down, what do you do?
I mean, I guess we need light. I guess I'll have like a torch or whatever and like take a quick peek. Do I have multiple options?
Yeah, if someone can just do an additional backpack equipment to get a torch, that'd be great. Just so we have one.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Can Parda also hand you his ball of twine, and he'll have tied it off outside the hole?
Very wise, very wise. And so keep us down. You've got the twine, you have a light source. The tunnel does have branching paths and things, so you'll have to navigate a little bit, which will probably be a risk roll whenever we do it. And who's going in next?
Parda will. Or
Yeah,
Sarah
Sarah
drops
will.
down. Parda drops down. Sounds like Woad, you're going in last.
Sounds good.
Woad, before you get down into the hole, you notice the woman, the follower of Saint Evelyn. Her white vestments stand out in the moonlight. Quite bright. And she says, "Let me tell you a tale of naughty Ebart." Naughty Ebart is a bad, bad boy. And he doesn't like it when people take his toys. Have you brought a toy for Ebart?
Yeah.
Fear not, because Ebart will make toys of your friends. Be careful down there.
Yeah. Woe Doom puts down the twine for a second and binds her to her place. Why don't you wait till we come back?
Oh, you're gonna use a ritual on her.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll cut there. We'll pick up when we start back up next week.
Cool.
With the going into the hole and attempting to bind the woman down into naughty Ebart's lair. Let's do stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed about the session, either scenes or bits of role play or something about the characters, something I did. Wishes are things that you hope to see in the story next time. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I already said this, but I just really loved there's this village that all their children have gone missing. Please come rescue them. And then the first child you meet, they're like, oh, well, maybe we won't take them back. It's a moral decision to choose at that point. Do I have, at the end of this, it's going to be, do I have burdens that I still have to fulfill or not? I thought that was great. And then I really like the interaction between Macero and the child in the little hole. It's good. Wishes. I don't know. I want to see what's going on between the two dukes, or the duke and his brother.
Yeah, that's my wish too. I'm very curious to see how much more of the bigger story happens, right? Because there's a way, there's a version of this where you just go straight to get the kids, right? And it's over, right? But it's interesting that you're all kind of pushing into the other parts of it, which I think is really fun. So that's a star as well for me.
I'm going to give a star to Woden's glow up.
I think Ben was the one that typed it, but in chat it said more like "whoa, damn."
I did not see that.
It was
Thank
like,
you
wow,
for-
damn. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't. I totally missed that chat. Thank you for pointing it out. Well, that's awesome.
Other stars. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, star for me is that it doesn't feel like a small adventure. It feels very dense in a cool way. Like the way that you've layered loom stuff in and what was already there. I can't tell what's what, and it's fun. It's really neat. Wishes. I mean, I feel like I want to know how Parda is wrapped up in all this, you know, if they are, and if at the end of the adventure, if Alicia will have a friend or not. Because that was the saddest sentence of the whole damn game. That might have been sadder than like the Rasten people are like doing something to their children. It was just like, oh my god, that's the terrible thing.
Well, on that note, my wish is for Wodem to be my friend by the end.
Oh, nice, very good, awesome. I will totally lean into that.
I had a star for like I just really enjoyed the this is like my favorite kind of fantasy adventure, like the sort of slow build remote village horror, kind of quasi horror thing. Like I just really love that. So I just kind of enjoyed the pace and the tone quite a bit. I thought everyone did a really good job like interacting with the various NPCs. I loved the toy shop scene. I also really loved the scene in the gallows with Carl and Macero. And the old man and Kiva, that was fun to role play. There was just a lot of like little fun little NPC interactions, which was really great. This is a very like fleshed out version of a Tower Darkly using a lot of loom stuff, but we're still getting like the Tower Darkly part of it as well. Like that isn't lost at all. So especially once you get to the tower down south, it'll really come out then. So
what is a Tower Darkly from?
The Tower Darkly is just the module that we're running.
Okay.
Or that I'm running, but I've had to adapt it a little bit to make it work for Trophy Gold and to make it fit 2 sessions because it's quite brief on its own.
Okay.
It's really just the tower part. All this other stuff is on there too, but there's like no information about it. So
okay.
Yeah, the only thing that has any kind of detail is the tower. So, and I could have just plopped you in front of the tower, but I wanted to, explore the rest of the hex.
So no, it feels really good and like
good.
Well put together.
Good. Glad.
A star for me, just a personal star. It's cool to actually be playing with Woad Doom after hearing his adventure so far in the podcast. Also, I really like Kiva's characterization and the I think I'm going to get murdered here was a good line. And And yeah, as mentioned before, the scene with Macero and the child and those candies coming in handy.
Oh yeah, star for everyone, or for most everyone, using their equipment, like kind of using their equipment in cool ways. Like that was fun. That's how it's meant to go. So it was fun.
I'm really digging the setup we've got here, and I'm looking forward to how it pays off.
Indeed, indeed. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, I'll stop the recording.